Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jim Grant. Welcome to another edition of Messages of Inspiration, Hope, and Support. And par for the course, we were supposed to have two speakers today. We got one speaker with us today. She's taking care of something very important right now. So I'm going to do a little introduction and I'm going to do a little bit of what I used to do in school. I used to go through a refresher course, but I want to share some tidbits with you. Now, if by chance, let me ask you a question. Do you or someone that you know, would you like to have some free tools to help you build your business online? I'm talking about free tools. We're Speakers Pathway Coalition. Don McGrath and I, we founded it. Speaking's only a very small part of the entire picture. Because if you're an internet marketer, affiliate marketer, if you got any type of, if you're an author or any type of online business, you need good speaking skills to be able to get your message over to people to convert, as Dr. Sony Jackson likes to say, change strangers into clients. Let me share with you what I mean, and let me share some information with you on some of the previous guests, because I've got some good information coming your way. As soon as I find I'll just use my little finger. Can't find my mouse. It must have run off. Let me share my screen. Okay, let's go to speakerspathway.com. Here we are. This is our homepage, speakerspathway.com. Speakers Pathway Coalition, we are the ones that sponsor all of these shows that you see here as far as messages of inspiration, hope, and support. And let me humbly say right now that there is a field day here, because I'm going to show you some of the previous speakers. Deborah's going to be with us in about 15 minutes or so. But most importantly, we're going to show you some valuable things here. At least I will. And hopefully, if you need them, please take them. The price is right. You can, we don't chase after people. We don't play that game. Your email address is very confidential with us because we respect your privacy. We hate spam too, okay? Now, at Speakers Pathway Coalition, I'm going to walk through these things a little bit. And you can see here at the top, we've got TEDx training. Don offers free TEDx training. I'm going to show you some complimentary gifts. That's there free. Remember I was talking about some of those tools? We're going to take a look at them in a moment. This is a snapshot of some of our, I got to move this little bar here out of the way. I know you can't see it, but when you do a Zoom and you're sharing your screen, you got this little bar up there with all these doodads on there. But these are just a snapshot of some of the people that we've had on before, some of the speakers. Great presentation. I mean, Judy Thurston, she really shared her heart about losing her 18-year-old son to drugs. This is the type of caliber of people that we're bringing to the show. And my goodness gracious, it just goes on and on and on through everyone. And I will show you some more detail here in just a moment. So please bear with me. Andy Don McGrath, he's my partner. He's a co-founder of Speakers Pathway Coalition. He's internationally known around the world as Dandy Don McGrath because he's a dandy guy. He is a speaking geek. He loves giving free information as far as feedback, critique, that sort of thing to help you fine-tune your presentation. Now, if you're going to do a video, a Facebook Live, whatever it is, you need to have everything in order to be able to tell your story and move people to action. That's what a video is all about. And Dandy Don has a free complimentary course on how to do that, how to hone your speaking skills, okay? And how do we do it? This here is a great way of saying it. As entrepreneurs, I got some things here in my way. I got to move out of the way. As entrepreneurs, speaking is an important part, getting your message across to your target audience, either through networking, videos, webinars, and even on physical stages. Most of the time, most of the people that we're affiliated with Speakers Pathway, they only talk on virtual stages, like I'm speaking right now, or doing a video. This is some of the things that we include. We have, of course, speaking, webinars, but coaching, sales funnels. Look at this, customer relationship, very important. You need management, you need marketing, you need branding, product creation, video marketing. If you're an author, how to write your book. We provide all of this kind of training here. And this is a picture of the Wild Bunch. That's Don McGrath there. Of course, you know me. Bill Heinrich, Koji Samaldi, Tamara Hunter, Dustin Matthews, Dr. Sony Jackson. I call her Dr. Sony Jackson. And Preston Martelli, because that's her title. I get a kick out of that. This is what some of our members have said about us. They've been with us for a long time, and they know some of the courses that we provide. And of course, we also have a radio show called Your Future Is Now. Now, to get on our radio show, we have our members can qualify to get on there, and this is their show. We give them their own show. There's details into that I won't go into, but we're on TogiNet. We're live every Friday starting at 12 noon. It's converted to podcast, and it took us, I just teased Don, I says, it took us 46 episodes to finally pass a total of downloads of over 2 million downloads. And I teased Don, I said, that's because look who your co-host is on the show. But let's get back up here at the top. Let's talk about some TEDx training. You can tell by Don's expression, he loves speaking. This is 5 simple steps to a kick-butt TED Talk. This is something that Don personally crafted. He has trained many TEDx speakers. We can give you testimonies if you'd like to hear those. To get your free guide, again, no strings attached, just click on it right there. It's a done deal. Our complimentary gifts. Koji Samaldi is a video expert. Remember I mentioned earlier about, your product, your service, whatever you want to do to get your message across. You might do a Facebook Live or video. The principles that you're going to be using as far as speaking and recording is going to be same. Koji is an expert in that. He'll be glad to give you a free audit. Please take advantage of that. It's a free gift. Bill Heinrich is one of our executive training directors. All of these folks are executive training directors. But Bill's specialty is clarity. He's real big on, he says there's only 2 emotions. There's fear, there's love. If you live in fear, you're trapped in the physical. You always will be limited. But if you live in love, you live in abundance. And he's all about getting clarity in the mind. And that is a very important place. And I recommend everyone to start right there, because we've had people come to us and say, and I asked them, I said, what would you like to do? And response is, I want to make some money. Well, that's not a real good reason. Money is the poorest motivator on planet Earth. Money is the reward of your efforts. And I tell them, you need to start with Bill and get some clarity in your mind. What is your calling? What is your desire in your life? And don't let anybody dangle money. If you do this, look, I earned up $10,000 last week. And all that does is attract the desperate. Don't fall prey to that. Please invest in yourself and get clarity in your mind. The free gifts here. He even has a free ebook called Clarity Has No Story. You go to my free book, 3 words, myfreebook.me. M is in Mike, E is in Echo. Sony Jackson, Dr. Sony Jackson. She's got a free content checklist to help you convert strangers into clients. This is very, very valuable for you online marketers. Tamara Hunter. Tamara is a cancer survivor, very special lady to all of us here. Going through the experience of suffering from cancer the way that she did, she decided to create Chemo Buddies for, the number 4, life. ChemoBuddiesForLife.org. And what they did there, they created a celebration journal. This is a day-to-day, everyday journal, good days, bad days, worrisome days, you name it. And she wanted people to be able to have the inspiration, because she got it from one of her chemo buddies. They went through cancer together and they kept a journal. And she made a journal, and this is available to anyone that's suffering from any type of life-threatening disease, such as cancer or any other disease. If you, or, I hope it's not you, but if there's anyone that you know that is suffering from this horrible disease or any of these horrible diseases, life-threatening, please come to speakerspathway.com. You can see here at speakerspathway.com up at the top. Complimentary gifts right in the center. Click on that, just scroll down and get Tamara's free gift. She'd love to give it to you. Dustin Matthews. Dustin is a great guy. He knows we pick his brains when we want to build an irresistible offer. How do we get people moved to action? Dustin's one of the guys we go to, but he has a specialty company called WealthFit, and how to get out of debt, boost your active income, and start investing for passive income. Again, his website is wealthfit.com. Preston Martelli, he's up there in Canada. And he's real good about, auditing your brand, helping you with, he's Mr. Google. This is the best way I can put it. But he will also give you a complimentary brand audit, because you may think your brand is great, but it may not attract the right kind of people. And I want to talk about brand in just a moment here. He also has 90 action steps to get you to the next level. Now, remember we talked about the messages of inspiration, hope, and support? These are some of the folks here. We have several people on each page, about 10, I think it is. And you can see we've got 7 pages so far. We're continuing to add some. And let's see, let's go down to page number 4. There's one individual I want to point out to you. All of these are great speakers. I'm not trying to say one's better than the other, but Karan Nijawan, this is his presentation he did with us back on April the 6th. Now, the reason why this is important, and I just want to point Karan out, he's not better than anybody else. I'm just going to use him as an example, because a lot of times people may say, well, I've finally got everything together and I'm comfortable with my product. I'm comfortable with my presentation, but going to this virtual stage and get things going, how do I do all that? He breaks it down into grassroots reality. Simple things, how you get 2 to 3 and convert them into 5 and so forth. He gives a wonderful presentation. Just click on him. That's his presentation right there. I'll just click on it and I'm going to mute it right quickly. You can see that it's only 17 minutes long. And in addition to that, this is some information about him. His website is jube.ca. And I could go on and on with all of these good people here. My goodness, Karen Joy, I remember having her on. She is just, all these speakers are just fantastic. And I just want to share another page here with you. Matthew was with us. I think Don interviewed Rob. Nancy Benitez was with us. Oh my goodness. I remember these ladies here. They were fantastic. And we just got great speakers here. Now, I mentioned earlier something about whenever you're getting ready to, let me put the chat box on so I'll know whenever Deborah is finished taking care of something that cannot wait. And we understand that. The other gentleman was supposed to be with us. He forgot. We tried to get in touch with him, haven't been able to do that, so I apologize for that. But I wanted to take this quality time, since you're tuning in and you're taking valuable time out of your time to listen to us. I wanted to share some things of value for you. And when it comes to speaking, let me just simply say this. Most of the speakers that we have, and most of the times people that's going to be speaking, they're going to be doing it on videos, Facebook Lives, things of this nature. And you need the very same speaking skills there that if you're going to be on stage. Don and I are professionally trained speakers. And we've got a buku experience. Personally, me, myself, I was an instructor for 12 years in the United States Army. I'm a retired Master Sergeant. I served in the reserves for 28 years, 3 years active duty. I served in Vietnam in 69 and 70. And my point being is that in addition to that, I've been on stage since about, outside the military, since about 2002. I've also attended high dollar speaking academies and got a lot of experience there. So has Don. That's where me and Don met, was at one of these high dollar speaking academies. When I talk about high dollar, I'm talking about, $1,500, $2,000 a day minimum. Don has spent as much as $4,000 a day for his training. So when we provide training for free, and Don McGrath, I got to tell you a little story about him. Don was, they're going to put on a TEDx event in Cocoa Beach, Florida. Something happened to the original trainer. And so Dr. Sony Jackson, who's one of our executive training directors, she calls Don. And Don lives in Colorado Springs, and he says, I'll be glad to come down there and help those folks. And Don, and that's where he got his experience through some hard work and sweat equity, and also because he's a fantastic speaker. That's how he was able to put together 5 simple steps, kick butt TED Talk. So everything that we present, everything that we offer, free gifts, all of that, there is value there. So please take advantage of that. Okie dokie, she's back. All right. Deborah, let me turn on your camera here and welcome you to the show. And I hope I didn't bore you too much. Did you get the request, turn the camera on? Ask to start video. There she is. Let me unmute you and let me give you center stage. And Don asked me before the show, he says, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I look at the positive side of everything. I says, you take, for example, everyone knows there's 7 musical notes. Elvis only used 2 of them and became the king of rock and roll.
That is excellent, Jim. Excellent.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being able to fit us into your busy schedule, because we fully understand. And your topic today will be encouragement for those who feel paralyzed, either personally or financially or both, and learn how to deal with our fear or fears. Is that correct?
That is exactly correct. And I am delighted to be here. I feel completely honored to be a part of this group. I know that I've listened to a whole lot of these presentations, and they've been superb. So I hope I measure up, and I am entrusting that to the Spirit to prepare ourselves for these motivational tips, to ingrain them into our psyche, so that we are inspired and we can be inspired leaders.
That's exactly what we're supposed to do in life. Like I tell people, we're not here to get large bank accounts and have fancy homes, and I'm proof of that. But realistically, our true calling in life, if you look at your thumbprint, no one else has it. Your true calling is, how can you use your gifts and your talents to leave an imprint on someone else less fortunate than yourself, or to lighten their load? But let me do you a favor, and me a favor, and everybody else out there a favor. Let me shut off my video and mute my mic, and the stage is yours, Deborah. Thank you again for being with us.
Thank you so much, Jim. So I'm Deborah Morrison, Principal of Empowered Retirement, and I am coming to you today in a season of uncertainty to talk about fear. And I learned so much about fear from my dear friend, and sadly my late friend, Dr. Susan Jeffers. And Susan wrote a number of New York Times best-selling books. Chief among them, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Oops, I guess that's not working. So the point of this book is to get us through the fear. And I wanted to read directly from Susan's book because it is completely powerful. If everybody feels fear when approaching something totally new in life, and here we are, yet so many are out there doing it despite the fear, then we must conclude that fear is not the problem. But rather how we hold the fear. Now, she went on to develop a pain power continuum. And at the end, in a moment, I'll give you the website to download her pain power continuum. Of course, it's found in her book. And I will share with you now the principles of this, because Susan spent a life of research and doing to give us these nuggets that I, for one, have taken and completely run with, because who of us hasn't felt fear? As a matter of fact, fear is a good sign, because the only time in a series of circumstances, typically, that we aren't feeling fear is when we're really not engaged in life, right? When we might be paralyzed. But fear sometimes can lead, if we're not holding the fear properly or in the most empowered manner, I should say that, because we choose, then we can become paralyzed. And so Susan has given us a continuum. And I draw this like this to give us hope. And I speak of this in my TEDx talk. And that is that she has, on the one hand, pain and the emotions underneath that segment of, and that end post, if you will, of her continuum. And on the other side, polar opposites, power. Now, not power over personal power, self-power. And so underneath the pain, we might resonate with some of these emotions, right? Helplessness, depression, and paralysis. But conversely, opposite that are the power emotions, choice, feelings, excitement, action. So if we're sitting feeling helpless, regardless of the matter, personal, financial, emotional, spiritual, if we're feeling helpless, Susan has given us the visual that we can inch our way across that continuum. And you'll see there's dotted lines along there to choice. And if we're feeling depressed, we can inch our way towards, and I put like a mid-post in there, action, and then excitement at the opportunity. And if we're feeling paralyzed, we can inch our way over to action, because guess what the very best, quote unquote, cure for paralysis is? Doing something. Doing something eradicates that fear. We've all had examples of this. When you first got in the car to drive it yourself, there's some fear, there's some unknown. All of the firsts in life typically are fraught with a measure of fear. And so it's rather something we want to get comfortable with, because it's a function of life. It's an indicator to us that here's an opportunity. Here's something perhaps new, perhaps old and we have forgotten it, or perhaps wholly new. Yet it needn't stop us. And as a matter of fact, it can propel us to personal empowerment and fulfillment. So we look inside again. Remember, all of the mystics have told us the answer is inside. And of course it is. And many of us entrust a larger entity, a power. In my case, I trust God and the impotent, in the omnipotence of God, and the ability for me to be given and for me to receive that knowledge that supersedes my human knowledge, as learned and as actively curious as I am, and most of us are. So I reach for Susan's continuum, and I have it posted in my office in various locations. When I remember that I have a choice, and I can take myself from this quote unquote side of the pain power continuum over into the powerful emotions and feelings. Now there might be some slippage, yes. And then we can come back and forth. That's why I like the continuum. It's not like, okay, we take up residency in the pain. We're always going to be helpless. Woe is me. Can't get out of it. Have no idea how to move forward. Well, the continuum is there. So I invite you to download that and commit it to memory. Commit it to your fiber. There's hope, ladies and gentlemen. There's always hope. And if you don't feel the hope within yourself, then reach out. Look out towards hope signals. Our mind is very much like a Google search. If we're like putting in hope in Google, right, it's going to take us to a whole bunch of hopeful scenarios. And if we're looking for more bad news, like what most of the media channels are filled with, then that's what we can expect there. So it's our responsibility to ourselves and the energy field around us, which is infinite ultimately, to choose life, to choose creativity. And all you need to do is look back in your life for times and situations in which you thought, how could I do this? how will I get through this? For many people, it's a grieving situation, the loss of an important person, a partner, or an important attribute, your job. I don't want to minimize any of these losses. I want to maximize, however, and elevate the remembrance and the memory and cement those memories as to the fact that you're still here, you're better because of it, and you have more resources on which to draw. So many of us forget that when we encourage like toddlers and stuff that are just learning to walk and they fall down, we say, oh, get up, Johnny. Oh, get up, Mary. Let's turn that right back on ourselves. Oh, get up, Deborah. Oh, get up, Jim. You can do it. You are doing it. And so it's that kind of taking uncertainty and morphing it into opportunity and hope that I want to speak of. Now, I've just started to talk about something that I actually coined, and it's the illusion of certainty bias, right? I'm a public speaker. I'm known as the expect the unexpected speaker. Why is that? Because I have 42 years of experience financial planning, and I have a rich family history, 9 brothers and sisters my dad had, right? I have a lot of life experience, and I have a great deal of professional knowledge about planning for the expected. It happens that my specialty is finance. But invariably, the unexpected comes in and snatches from our notion of control the certainty. And if we have a good plan B and plan C and probably some spirituality to help us through that uncertainty, it will be a lot easier. And if we don't, we'll build that. And as we fall from the memory of the certainty that we can handle, whatever it is that is external to ourselves, because, you know, Abraham Lincoln said, happiness is an inside job. And he's right. Quadriplegics and paraplegics are some of the happiest people in the world. People who have survived the loss of a partner or a child. And they move through their grief. And they tell me, I'm a certified grief coach, they tell me, you know, Deborah, it just sounds a little weird, but the worst thing that ever happened to me ended up being the best thing. Why? They don't sweat the small stuff anymore. They value time. They hug the people they love. And so if that's the blessing, and it certainly is, I want to lift that up. I want to remind ourselves to hold this fear about these uncertainties with the assurance that ultimately we have the answer and we can choose the most creative of all of the notions that are jangling around within our brains. So again, I want us to start where we are, and I want us to figure out on that pain power continuum how we may be holding this fear or that fear. And I want us to take action, if you will, towards the choice of, I can handle this. That does not mean, ladies and gentlemen, I know every next step without fail. I think there's this notion in society that mistakes are bad. I mean, we were kind of taught that too, right? We laughed at kids in grammar school, they made a mistake. I mean, I still remember in 2nd grade, I was reading and I read stomash instead of stomach. I still remember the kid's name, this first and last name of the kid that laughed the hardest and pointed at me. So I bring that up not because it has stifled me, but because, I mean, it's kind of funny. It's very funny. The issue is we can move beyond the notion that mistakes are bad. Mistakes are hurdles, and we'll be stronger after we create the solutions to the quote unquote mistakes. And so people come to me all the time and say, oh, I made this horrible mistake. And I say, okay, so tell me about it. And they tell me about it. And I say, well, what else? And they say, well, that's it. And I said, well, if that's it, if that's the mistake, we're fine, right? But sometimes you need someone outside yourself to give you that perspective, to allow you to pivot from the self-flagellation to, I did it, it didn't turn out so well. What do they say? If you don't get what you want, you get the experience. And now I have building blocks, or perhaps as a coach or a professional, to help me either fix that mistake, if indeed it was, and or to move forward in a way that's more efficient, perhaps. So I think this illusion of certainty seems to have been fairly universal. And boy, has this pandemic cut through that. We have grown into new aspects of ourselves and our counties and our states and countries and world and planet. I, for one, am excited about it. Has there been uncertainty that's caused me some additional stress? You bet. And as soon as I feel the stress, I recognize it, because I think that's really important, to own our experience and to own our feelings. Because when we don't own our feelings and allow them to bubble up, if you will, guess what? They control us subconsciously. So picture yourself, you're in a swimming pool and you're just like keeping this inflated beach ball underneath the surface, because you don't want those feelings to come up. You don't want that uncertainty to come up. You don't want that fear to come up. You don't want that grief to come up. All your attention is keeping that beach ball underneath the water, underneath the water, underneath the water. You're not even enjoying the pool. You might get distracted, and I hope to God you are distracted, and you look away, and whoop, all of a sudden that inflated beach ball pops up. And now you settle into the peace of not having to divert valuable energy towards keeping that down. It popped up. Deal with it. So I know that this is not the kind of message that maybe you were thinking you were going to hear from a financial advisor. And yet I have two assets in life, and most of us do: time and health. All the money in the world can't replace time and health. They can maybe assist us in extending our lives and improving our health, and I hope we use our monies toward that end. But if this circumstance of a lot of uncertainty covering individuals and companies and countries and the globe has taught us anything, I think it has taught us that life itself is precious. And the hours in our life are valuable. And I want to invite us to do our level best to bring any of these subconscious fears, all of this chatterbox stuff that's otherwise been automatically ruling us, to the conscious, because now we can deal with them, and take affirmative action towards moving ourselves to that personal power side of Dr. Susan Jeffers' pain power continuum. Now, it helps to remember that neurolinguistic programming has taught us that intellect is high and emotions are low. They're on like this inverse teeter-totter relationship, right? And so when we're very emotionally charged with something, it's not the time to devise the intellectual solutions, if you will, those next steps. We want to, again, let that beach ball out, let our emotions out, and now we say, okay, we've emoted, and now we'll bring our intellect into focus, and we'll devise steps. Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. So invariably, life is this confluence between emotion and intellect, and yet it's really powerful to separate those out and to be knowledgeable that when we're in a highly emotionally charged state, which sometimes fear has caused us to be before we're conscious of it, then we're not likely to get that intuition or the factual aspect of our brain fired up. We need to quell this, quiet this, to enliven this. And I love that word enliven because it is going to give us more life. So ultimately, we will stand in our power amidst the grief, choosing to hold the grief because there's been a lot of loss of what we knew or thought we knew, loss of routine, loss of pattern. Maybe this is the universe's way of saying, pattern interrupt. How will we pivot and change our perspective in moving forward? So I want us to remember that the best way out is always through. And of course, that is a Helen Keller quote. We cannot control ultimate outcomes. We lay our plan. Somebody said, God kind of laughs at it sometime. I'm not saying planning is bad. Believe me, I am a real advocate of planning. And yet, when life and uncertainty injects itself as it will, in small or large degrees, I want us to have built up within ourselves a knowledge and a belief that we have a choice and we can move from our paralysis and fear over the continuum into personal power. And then with that increased sense of self-worth and capability and creativity, we imagine our next step, our next chapter. I invite us to do this and then lead others to do this too. And creatively and collectively, we will bring about a most empowered, enlivened, filled with energy, a new future. Unless we get caught up about the temporary downturn of the markets, if you will. I've been a student of the markets my whole life, and certainly professionally involved 42 years. And I can assure you that the market cycles, and historically, it has always come back and superseded the levels prior. So you needn't worry. And worry is the most useless emotion in the world anyway. You needn't focus on, will the market come back? Yeah, the market will come back. Where will you be emotionally? Because you can always create more money. And I'm off to say, if money can solve it, it's not a problem. So my prayer today is for each of us to recognize the loss, the grief, and sometimes that fear that makes us tremble. And to lift that up such that we can now take steps across that continuum towards more personal power. We can do it. We are doing it. And I invite you to come to our website, Empowered Retirement. That's EMPOWERED just like the moniker, .com/resources to get a copy of Dr. Jeffers' Pain Power Continuum. And there are a bunch of freebies on there that hopefully can give you some little footholds of assurance in any uncertain times. And frankly, all times are uncertain. It's our responsibility to choose not necessarily certainty, resilience, creativity, and responsiveness, because our lives, our futures, and those who depend upon us depend on nothing short of it. God bless. We will get through this. We are getting through this. Namaste.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Deborah just gave a great example of what I was talking about when we first started the show. All the greats we got back there, individual messages. I mean, there's messages there for everyone to resonate with. Deborah, I tell you right now, when you were speaking, I was thinking, holy smokes, this lady is just right on because, one of the things that came to my mind was the fact when some people just enjoy being miserable, bless their hearts, and they just, let it consume them. And what they really do, they rob themselves of the true light of life. And that's a lot of what your message was about, turning on to the light and life and living. And having you on today, my goodness, I was just so thankful that you came on today, Deborah, because your message is just so powerful. And ladies and gentlemen, empowermentretirement.com/resources. Please take full advantage of that because that's a powerful message. And Deborah, if someone wanted to get in touch with you and just say thank you for your presentation or whatever, how could they get in touch with you, please?
Well, I have the website empoweredretirement.com. My phone is 973 area 709-2244, or you could just plug into your web browser DEBRAM, so it's Deborah M for Morrison, 360.com, and there's a whole bevy of information and some free resources there as well. So DEBRAM 360.com.
Thank you. And I'm so glad that you were able to get things worked out so your schedule and all could be with us today, because I was teasing Don. He said, what are you going to do if no one else shows up? And I said, well, I told you the joke about Elvis there, but most importantly, it's all about providing value. And, I encourage people to use this time also to reach out and just say hello to someone, text them, call them, whatever. Just say, I'm thinking of you. How's it going? And, I've been very, very blessed because no one in my family or any of my friends, as far as I know, have not suffered from this virus. But there are some people that are suffering from being in their homes and they've automatically put themselves in solitary confinement.
Yeah.
That is a wrong place to be because they need light of inspiration. If you're listening to this, please share Deborah's message with them. That's going to be on the speakerspathway.com website, messages of hope, inspiration, hope, and support. Each individual speaker's presentation is there. Deborah's will be there. Please share this with others because this is valuable, valuable, valuable information that we are sharing with you. The reason we share it, I'll tell you why. Because when you bless others, you're going to be blessed yourself. It's a win-win situation.
That's just what I was going to say, Jim. You launched into that. It was so beautiful because there are a lot of people that are, kind of solitary. And so, and then even when they get the notion like, well, what can I do? The thing you can do to lift yourself up is give something to someone. And that can be a smile or a wink. Right? We have social distancing, but nothing is stopping us from smiling at the male person or waving across the window or to the next alley. Nothing is stopping us from making gestures. And frankly, the gift in that is ours, right?
Yeah.
So to give is to get. And we've learned that as kids, but somehow we're just not focused in on that. And I invite everybody to, if you're feeling poorly, give something to someone. You'll just pump yourself right up.
Oh, yeah. Like I tell people, I know a lot of families are using the Zoom call to get together and have family get-togethers. It's a wonderful time. We're going to be doing it again on June the 3rd because we got 3 birthday boys the same day there. We get to sing happy birthday to them, of course. And also, too, this is maybe you classify this as a nicety to know. If your family's like my family and you get tired of hearing them laugh about the stupid things you did when you were growing up, play trivia. That's a good way. But most importantly, it's fun. You can have a lot of laughter, and laughter is the best medicine for our hearts, our souls, our attitudes, our everything. And if you're not laughing at some of the things you've done in your life, you're cheating yourself.
That's exactly right. exactly right.
I've done some bonehead mistakes. And most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, forgive yourself when you make a mistake. Just say, okay, I made a mistake, just forgive yourself. Don't let it eat you up, because that's what Deborah was talking about there. And we can't say that enough, because there's a lot of people out there just let it just gnaw on them, and it drags them down, and it just robs you of your health, your happiness, your everything.
Mhm.
It's all about light and life and energy, and turn your light on and let it shine.
There you go. Thanks, Jim. That was excellent.
Well, thank you, Deborah. I mean, your inspiration is what created those words to come out of me, because I've got nothing. I'm not intelligent enough to think that up and write it down. You were the catalyst. So, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, that's all Deborah. It had nothing to do with me. I'm just a vocal guy here. But I just want to say before we go, Deborah, thank you so very, very much from the bottom of my heart, because I was enjoying every word that you said. You were singing my song all the way through.
Thank you,
And
Jim.
I know that your light has just shined in some areas where people needed some light in the darkness that they're going through.
Thank
And
you.
I just hope and pray that your job out there, folks, is to share this light with others. Get in touch with Deborah. Be sure and share her messages of inspiration, hope, and support with others. And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for making my day, Deborah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And thank Don.
You're more than welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, our time's about gone. We hope this episode of Messages of Inspiration, Hope, and Support has been a blessing to you. Please go to speakerspathway.com. Check us out. Be sure and get every free gift I showed you there. And most importantly, love yourself so you can love others. My throat's gone. Bye-bye, and have a good day. Take care.